Hello, everyone. I am Lara, the Membership Administrator at BIMA, and I also run masterclasses here at BIMA. I'm also very excited to welcome Justina Russo, founder of Purple Square Video, for her masterclass on how to elevate your personal brand through video content. I'll be sharing some links to some BIMA events and initiatives, including the Shima Networking Power Hour on the 30th of May, BIMA Awards Road Trip inside the best digital products at the Mill, London on the 12th of June, and BIMA's Generative Genius AI workshop on the 12th of June online. Um, take it away, Justina.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Okay, I'm going to share my screen then, and you should still be able to see me and the slide deck. Is that all good?
Yeah, all good.
Excellent. I'm just going to open up the chat box as well at the side so I can see if anyone's commenting. Okay, so it's been a long time since I've done a webinar or masterclass presentations, so excuse me if I'm a little bit rusty. So yes, today we're talking about how to elevate your personal brand through video content. And this is going to cover these topics here. But before we get into all of that, it would be great to just have a hello from who's here, so I don't feel like I'm just talking into the abyss. These webinar settings where you don't see your audience is always a little bit odd. Hi, Hannah, lovely to meet you. Thank you very much for being here. Okay, Joseph, thank you, lovely to see you. Linda, oh, thank you. It's nice to know I'm just not talking to myself in a room here. Oh, thanks everyone, so lovely to see you. Elise, Lisa, thank you so much. So should I tell you a little bit about me very quickly before we start? As you heard, my name is Justina Washu, and I have a video agency called Purple Square Video. We've been running that agency for 15 years now. It's always been video production in different guises. Initially, it was full service. Back in that time where social media wasn't really a thing, it was very corporate. Then we used to specialize in filming food for a period of time, and then spent about 5 years specializing in supporting coaches, consultants, course creators. So that's where all of my knowledge from personal branding has come from. And in that period, I made it it was my kind of task to work with the leading coaches in the business industry, and then I would be able to then hook into their audiences and deliver my own content, which is what happened. And it was only just before COVID that I changed that ideal client that I had at that point, and then became focused on FMCG and ecom, which is what we do now. But it still remains very close to my heart, the whole personal branding side. Before the agency, I spent 15 years at the BBC in programme making. So that's really where I cut my teeth on how you create video that an audience wants to watch, which essentially is what every single TV programme is. And within the TV, within the BBC in my time there, I kind of covered the entire spectrum of programme creation, from concepts, ideation, development, seed budgets, commissioning, through to running series and developing programs and making them go out on air to budget and on time. And that included, I was part of a small team that launched channel BBC Three, which back then was called BBC Choice. There was only 6 of us that launched that. So I saw the age of digital come in. I used to work in network transmission as well. And so when I used to be the person that would press the buttons and bring in the vision mix, do the vision mixing and bring in the announcer or change over to the next program. And there used to be like 6 of us in that transmission suite with all the screens up on the wall. And during my time there, that also became fully digitized, and then it was one person that did the job of all of that. So I've seen a lot of changes in my time, and it definitely feels like we're on the cusp of another big change now with all of the AI things coming through. But I'm not here to talk about AI. Okay, so trying to keep an eye on the comments. If you have a question as we go, if you do in capitals question, and then I'll see it easy, and I'll try and keep my eye on there. I'm very happy to stop and ask questions as we go. Okay, so as you can see here, this is the agenda. And what would be great, I'm going to talk about these non-numbered items because there's information that everyone should really know. These other 4 areas that I'm covering, it'd be great to kind of get a feel for who's here live and whether any of those are of more interest than the others to you. So if no one here is camera shy, then I won't spend too long talking about overcoming camera shyness. So maybe if in the comments you can just put a number on the one of these areas that you are the most interested in. So I'm talking about video styles that you can test out to find what you feel works for you, and obviously you can have a go at doing all of them. If you're camera shy, a few tips on overcoming that. General camera filming tips, presentation, a few things there to watch for, and ideation, which is a lot of people say, I don't know what to talk about. So there's a few things there that will help you. Okay, interesting. We've only got one shy person, Joseph. Thank you for sharing. And lots of 1s and 4s, and another the number 3 camera tips. Okay, so that's good to know. Thank you very much for letting me know. So I'll spend a bit longer on 1 and 4. Since that seems to be where the majority of you want to spend most of the time. Okay, anyway, let's get on to the main event. So can I have a show of hands, however you want to do that, on who's already using video as part of a personal brand campaign that they are working on? I've got 1 hand raised, thanks Lisa. 2 hands raised, so I can't see the names of the other hands, I can just see the numbers going up. Okay, that's great. 4 of you, it looks like, I think. So brilliant. Thank you very much for sharing that. So you may already have information that you have learned that you are welcome also to share with everyone that's here too as we go through. So you're doing some video already. What have you thought of the reasons why you are doing your personal branding video? So these are 2 of the most common things that people would say, is that it's building your authority and it's building search. Hopefully those are the 2 things that you're mostly the reasons why you're making your personal branding content, video content, because it does absolutely do those 2 things. But let me go into a little bit more detail to frame some of the other reasons why it's such a great thing to get involved in doing if you're not already. Okay, so the first one, and I have to warn you, there's lots of photos of me doing various parts of my job in this, which is all part of raising a personal brand. I have one myself. So the first one here is the celeb phenomenon. So it is without doubt, the more you create your video content, the more you put it out there and share it with people, you start to develop your own little celebrity status, and you probably would have observed this in your own behavior. So if you've been watching someone on video, then when you meet them in person, they've kind of like gone up in your estimation. There's something that we just do as human beings, is we just make someone, we give them this status of authority simply because we've been seeing them on video, and that is just something that happens. You may have already experienced that yourself. I know I have, and it's always a little bit shocking. So then there's also the mere exposure effect. So the mere exposure effect, it's when the more someone sees you, the more they give you that authority. So which is why it's not just about being on video, it's about being on video all the time, because the more they see you, not just the authority that says, sorry, it's the more they see you, then the more they get to like you. I once came across this coach who was a bit like Marmite. You liked her or you didn't like her. And I was like, oh, she's a bit too loud for me. Didn't really enjoy watching her content that much, but she kept showing up in all of my feeds. And then eventually I actually liked watching her content. So the mere fact that you're being seen regularly makes people like you more. And I think the official studies say, in studies of interpersonal interaction, the more often people see you in person, the more pleasing and likable they find you. Interesting. So that certainly ticks that box. So then the pratfall effect, one of my favorite, also scientifically proven as something that we do as humans, is if you make small mistakes, it actually makes your audience like you a bit more, particularly if you are showing yourself as an expert. So this is great news if you're a little bit camera shy as well, or if you are a perfectionist, you can hopefully let go of some of that, because it's proven that showing some of those flaws helps people like you more as well. And then 7-hour challenge. Okay, so if someone were to, this kind of feeds into these other, all these other points I've mentioned already. If your name is Googled, ideally your target is to have 7 hours worth of video content that your audience can just binge watch, go down the whole rabbit hole of your content. During that time, that's how they build your authority with them. And if you follow the 3 pillars of content that I'm about to share with you, then this really gets that person completely hooked into your into what you do, and you as being their go-to authority for what it is that you do. Okay, so the 3 pillars. Does that make sense to anyone? Does anyone have any questions on that? Just pop them in. I'm happy to stop and chat as we go, although there is question time at the end. Okay, so the 3 pillars. The first one is to do. So this is to show yourself doing things. So this is great for when you're going to a conference, or whether you're holding a course, maybe you're giving a workshop in person, or you're going out to view you might be going to an exhibition or something that is connected in some way to what it is that you're doing. Vlog style video works really well for this. So you're just showing yourself doing, and this is very, this is you filming yourself usually. Okay, then the 3rd pillar is to show what you know. So that is by having video content, which is like this. It can be a masterclass, a webinar, it can be your YouTube content, really good. Particularly for YouTube content, it can be talks. It's basically you showing, as it sounds, you showing what it is that you know. And then the 3rd pillar is showing that you're a pro. And by that, this is where you do have professionally shot material, which really then helps to, again, elevate your status as your authority, build your personal brand in a really rich way. And so there's certain videos that when you have the budget or when you are ready, that then you would invest that money in to have a professional film made. And that's something I'm going to talk to you a little bit about on the next slide. So hopefully those 3 pillars kind of make sense. So together, that gives a really good 360 view of you as an individual. So what you know, you looking pro, and what you do. And that what you do is kind of like part of that peek behind the curtain, that people like behind the scenes. People will get to know more of the real essence of you. I don't know if you follow any celebrities, but whenever you sit, like take Davina McCall, for example. So her Instagram is a lot of just her showing up on her phone at home doing stuff. Then obviously you see her in her professional view when she's maybe presenting a program or she's in a commercial, and also in different places. If you maybe look a bit harder, you see her presenting what she knows when she's showing up in conferences and giving talks, and in her businesses. Okay, so kind of feeding into that, this is something which I get asked a lot as well, is it okay for me to do my own filming? especially especially brands that maybe have a very, you have a high caliber of audience, or like a high ticket items, and you want to always come across super professional. But as you can see from those 3 pillars, you do want to have the duality of pro and low. So pro filming and low production value, which is you on your phone, usually you on your phone. But you definitely want to have both of these and really make it your strategy to have both of these. Something that's happened in the past where I've worked with personal brands that have said, my audience are high ticket purchasers. I've got this, my whole persona is very polished, so I feel like it's not going to fit me having video that I've shot myself, and that people that have gone down that route have always regretted it, that I've been in contact with. Sometimes it's been because business has taken a different turn, and then they can't afford to have that regular professional content, because in these instances usually I'm filming them professionally once a month, and that's quite a lot of expense to commit to. Things can change, and then if they change, then you've set you've set a rod for your own back. Whereas you can dial up, dial down your professionally video content. So having that lo-fi content will future proof you. But if, as you can see from the previous slide, it should always be part of your strategy, because people want to see the authentic, the like raw version of you. Okay, so video styles to try on. So as you are going through and trying to work out what content you want to make, before we do that, you kind of want to have an idea of how you're going to go about actually making that content. So these are a few ideas of the ways that you can film. Okay, so I've already touched on vlogging. So when you're doing vlogging, it can be, there's a few ways of doing that. You can be just doing like point of view, where you're just filming what you're looking at, content, and then taking photos, and then you're stitching all that together in your edit. That can be things like a day in the life. It can be come with me to wherever it is that you are going to be going to, and you can have a lot of fun. It's quite a good one to get started with. You do then have to overcome being seen filming yourself in public, which can be a little bit of a trickier thing to do. And then you can also do your direct to camera filming. So that is, as it sounds, where you're setting up your home, usually your home environment, or if you have an office, can be within your office environment, and you are then talking direct to camera and working out what you're going to say beforehand very often, and just very specific and usually quite short what you're going to be talking about in that direct camera. And that's a great way also of demonstrating your knowledge, giving small tips, bite-sized pieces of content. If it's for YouTube, it's better to be slightly longer bit of content. Typically YouTube's good at about 6 minutes, versus if you're doing that kind of content for LinkedIn, keeping it shorter, around 2 minutes is still better. And obviously the other platforms is even shorter. You're usually looking at under a minute, which I'm sure you all already know. So tutorials, how-to classes, this is a really good way of demonstrating your knowledge as well. So taking something that you can explain how to do, and that can sometimes be screen sharing. It doesn't have to be just you to camera. So using a tool like Loom can be a great way of getting started with that type of tutorial how-to class. Putting it up on YouTube is the platform of choice for that type of content, and then putting snippets onto your other platforms to just share an entire little piece of like a tip within that onto the other platforms, or you can use it as a teaser, and just tease that content that you've got elsewhere. And how to, if anyone wants to know more about YouTube, there's going to be plenty of time at the end for questions, because I find often that's the better, a good use of time, and I can talk to you a lot about YouTube, and whether you should be doing that, and if you do want to do that, how you should do that. Observations and insights. So you don't have to just talk about how to do something. It can also be something that's happened in the news. It can be something that you've just been observing in your industry, where you're sharing more about thoughts, leadership, piece of content, which was really is usually going to be just you to camera, but it can also include other pieces of content, whether you're taking something as a B-roll. If you don't know what B-roll is, it's basically when, if you're filming yourself, then you're talking about, let's say, and I went to the Brighton SEO conference the other week, and then I might show a picture of the Brighton SEO conference, and you wouldn't see me, you would just hear my voice. So that's a good way of breaking up what is being seen on screen. Point of view, text and music, which I think I mentioned, point of view with voiceover. So those are just some quite basic but really useful kinds of different video to start trying out, see what you like, and try and actually have a few, like try all of these at some points, and try and have that variety there as well. You might find you just have one of those styles that you happen to like the most, and you do more of those. Okay, so over time, there's several other videos that you will want to start to have if you don't already. So having an origin story for a personal brand is really valuable piece of content. And it's one of those, this is one of the occasions where you would want to have this on your list of pay to have done professionally if you can, or as one of the first ones when you do have a budget to do that. Because it's a piece of content which has a very long shelf life. You are only really going to need to redo that as technology starts to make that video look dated. But otherwise the content will be solid for a long time. Or if you change your appearance dramatically, that would be another time that you would want to redo that. But otherwise it's a good investment of money. If you are running mini courses or fully fledged courses, over time, that is a good one to then up the ante and have shot professionally. Never invest that money when you're starting out in course delivery, because the content will just change too frequently. FAQs is another good one to start doing slowly, and that can really be professional or shot yourself. It's a great one to start bringing other people if from your agency point of view, to have other people on your team answering some of those questions as well. But still, it's about the more people are seeing you, the more you're falling into that mere exposure effect and that celebrity phenomenon. They see you again and again and again. So all of those, so when you're looking at a funnel, every touch point, if you can, having a piece of video is really helping towards that. So whether it's say, right, thank you for downloading this freebie, now you're going to have, that's going to be in your inbox, and thank you very much, see you there. And then you can have another little video when you're introducing your freebie downloadable. And I've only just got back into doing downloadables, so I don't have my videos yet, so I can't claim to be doing that myself at this time. Speaker reels, obviously for personal brands. One of your other big personal brand pillars is going to be probably being an author, but definitely speaking on stage. And so getting a speaker reel is a really key video to have. And having that edited professionally will by far help you have a video that you love and you're happy to share with. And you don't have to have loads of content to get that speaker reel ready. But the more you have, the better. So even if it's you've got a friend in the audience that is filming you on their phone, or whether if part of your negotiation when you are taking a on stage gig is to say to the organisers that you want to have a copy of the video. Usually these events are always being filmed now. It'd be very unusual if you went to an event and it wasn't being filmed. But if it's smaller and perhaps there isn't, then just say, I would like to have permission to film. And you can even I've done this before, put my own tripod up at the front of the audience. And before I've got on stage, just being almost part of the act. Okay, I'm going to press play I'm going to press record on my phone here, and now I'm going to jump up on the stage for smaller rooms, because all of that content helps to the richness of that speaker reel, stills and footage, and so much magic can happen in the edits. We've created speaker reels from such small amounts of content, but the more you can get, the better that is. Obviously doing webinars, funnel touch points, which I mentioned, about videos. So again, if presumably we're all agency owners, part of your agency website can be a video that is you introducing what it is that your agency does. And that again is one of those videos that you would invest more money in. And again, it's just another way of having your face being seen. And we all know, personal brands really do help elevate agency status. Sales page video, depends kind of what your agency model is. And product explainer videos, again, whether that is going to be you on screen, is down to kind of what your agency model is again. Okay, I'm going to flick through. Okay, camera shyness. Camera shyness. So I'm going to just run through all of these and might mix them up a bit, but it's there on screen for you to. I should have said already that in the downloadable that I've got prepared for you to have, I've created cliff notes, so you don't have to worry too much about taking notes or screenshotting. The cliff notes covers all of this, and there's tech tools in there as well that I would recommend to get you started. Okay, so if you're camera shy, you really need to just bring down the expectation of why this is some big thing that you're doing, and start really small. And that starting small can be simply filming, using your phone to film what's around you and without you on camera. That's a really good way of just getting familiar with video as a medium. And then filming yourself in a private environment is usually the best way to get started. And just think about the fact that doesn't have to go anywhere. You can just get used to talking on camera, and that content staying to yourself, because then you can just redo it as many times as you want. And even just getting used to hearing your voice out loud when you're doing a piece to camera is very helpful. So I would say try and find a time when you're going to be somewhere with no one around, because even sometimes knowing there's someone else in your house or in the office can be really off-putting. You need to feel completely unhindered. So create that setting. Do test out different ways of filming from the other slide. So you might find that actually one of those just clicks for you. Okay, so this question, auto cue or not auto cue. So when I get asked, should I use an auto cue? It's a really personal thing. You might prefer, in fact, I would say maybe start by trying out a script outline or bullet points of what you want to talk about. It's definitely more natural when you can do it in that way. And when you're filming in that way, where you're going off of some bullet points, you need to embrace the as live. Okay, so that's when you're filming and you're pretending it's going out live. So that means you can't just stop and restart all the time, because that is one of the pitfalls that you can find you get into when you're filming yourself. particularly if you are camera shy and finding it difficult, is that you'll forever restart and restart and restart and restart. But if you kind of try and get your frame of mind into saying that this is actually live, so the only time you're going to stop and restart is literally if you completely get it wrong. Otherwise, you just go all the way through. And if you start getting stuck even with that in mind, then you just say, okay, I don't care, I'm just going to keep going to the end of my content that you've got planned to say, even if you might stop in the middle of it and just like, you know, that like tweet with a empty head, tumbleweed blowing through as you forget everything you're about to say, and you pause for a minute. That's fine, just keep recording and don't restart, just keep going. And then you'll find, start again from the beginning and keep going through to the end without giving yourself the option to stop and start. You'll find that maybe on the third time through that actually you've got it, and those kind of like that stop and start kind of trap you can fall into will pass. So if you find it too difficult to be able to ad lib with presenting from just a script outline or bullet points, then it's okay to do an entire script and use an auto cue. There's an auto cue app on the download that I'd recommend. That goes onto your phone. It takes a bit of time, and it's worth making that time investment to adjust for the pace of the script. So the auto cue should always be going to your natural pace of talking. So if it's too fast, too slow, then adjust it. Notice that when you have paragraphs, that will affect the speed. If you change the size of the text, that will change the speed as well. So just note and practice what size your font should be, how frequently you put paragraph returns in, and the speed number, so that next time around then you know, okay, those are your settings. And that a lot of people I've worked with, even filming professionally, that's the only way they can do it, and we have an auto cue we use. And then we sometimes then experiment with ad lib things, but that main content's got to be done full script for some people. Others can't operate like that, so it's a really individual thing. Okay, looking fresh. What I mean by looking fresh is that it's really easy when you're presenting to camera to become really monotonous with your delivery. I think I might have this on the next slide as well. So this is regardless of whether you're camera shy or not. Everything that you film, when you look back, everything kind of gets dumbed down. So you can be filming and thinking that you're looking happy and animated, and then when you look back, it can sometimes just not be a patch on that level of animation you thought that you were delivering that content with. So looking fresh means that you need to like shake your body out. I know this sounds really dumb, but you know, do it, trust me. Anyone here that's used to speaking on stage, these are really similar tactics actually. Things like putting your arms up above your head, like really moving your head around, and then in between takes. So if you are doing a few takes, which is one of the things I would say also to do, like don't feel like you have to go through the entirety of what you want to say in one go. This is once you've got used to not falling into that trap of just almost like OCD, where you keep saying the same opening word like 10 times before you can get past it. But you would do your delivery in like little sections. And in between those sections, to like freshen yourself up, you know, do like look away from camera and then come back to camera, and always start with a smile, and pause as well, and then deliver. And the same kind of reversed at the end as well. So when you're coming to the end, and I'm kind of getting on to the general tips here really, when you come to the end of what it is that you want to say, it is so common that people will then look away, and it's even sometimes it's just the eyes, that your eyes will look somewhere else, but that really ruins that piece, that little clip. which is one of the reasons why I say editing your own footage when you're starting out is golden, because you'll see all of these things and you'll become a better a better person on camera when you've gone through editing your own material. Okay, smile more, tonality. So yeah, also notice that your tonality, you can become monotone really easily. And yeah, if you're too shy to get on camera, yeah, start with some point of view, and just doing voiceover to kind of get used to hearing yourself can be a good first step towards getting used to seeing yourself. And then I would add to this that most people hate seeing themselves on camera. We're all so self-critical. So don't let that be the reason it's that you don't publish your videos. Just take that leap of faith and just don't watch it back once you've published it if that's too painful. I've got so many videos that I hate. I have to say, the irony is quite often those videos that you hate the most are the ones that become the most popular, and you're like, oh, why didn't that video go better? Anyway, on camera tips, there's a little bit of overlap here as well. So I can't overestimate how important it is to smile and learn how to smile talk. So that's when, as it sounds, you know, you're smiling and talking at the same time. Film in sections. So if you've done your bullet points, you might want to just do one bullet point at a time. Know that you've nailed that one down. Then you can like take a break, jiggle your body around, refresh, and then get on to the next point. Part of that refreshing yourself physically, that I haven't written down here actually, I think it's on the cliff notes and not on the slide, is to think about whether you're more comfortable standing or sitting. And both, there's nothing wrong with either, but you'll find that when you stand, you can have a different, you know, you carry yourself very differently, you breathe differently, you gesture differently. I generally tend to think that if it's a sales video, or if it's like doing a quick tip, those kind, or a thought leadership piece, quite often standing works. When it's like tutorial, webinar, masterclasses, workshops, they're quite often better sat down. So yeah, that's something to think about, what works better for you. Okay, these are really important. So audio, I would say, is the most important thing, because if you muck up what you have on, what you filmed, there's usually a way to fix it, whether you then just use B-roll, or you just correct as much as you can. But if your audio is bad, no one will stick around to just put up with some bad filming. So audio is important. Luckily these days, like, most phones have really great audio. But if you're going to start investing in gear, the first thing would be to get a mic. And there's, you know, I haven't gone through gear on this in this talk, because it's a whole other bigger area to discuss. If you want recommendations, just ask me. Handles. So by handles, I'm talking about, this is being your best friend for when you're in the edit with your footage. And that's what I was just talking about, where you give yourself a little bit of a gap at the beginning and the end of what you're filming. So then when you're editing, you've got room to play. Basically, that's what handles are. And which is why you've got to, at the end and at the beginning, make sure you've got those couple of beats of you looking into the lens and smiling, because it will make your life in the edit a lot easier. Lighting, always try and go for natural light if you can. It's far more flattering. So if you are able to set yourself up to be facing a window when you're doing pieces to camera, obviously if you're out and about, you're in natural daylight anyway. You can, this, I mean, lighting these days is really inexpensive, so get as many lights as you can fit into your little home studio setup, if that's what you're doing for your self-filming. Environment, by this I'm talking about, again, your home studio or office setup. Really think about what's behind you, whether you want to have like a staged area behind you, you know, how extreme you want to go with that. If it's in your office, what corner of the office are you going to use? Are you going to have kind of like a set behind you? What that would look like, but it's to be aware of your environment, rather than it being just very inappropriate. I've seen personal brand videos that have had laundry in the background as well. Try and avoid doors generally behind you if you can, because they just don't look that great. And then if someone does come in, it's ruined everything for your video. Yeah, so there's lots of ways around that. Takes, by this I'm talking about trying to not get caught in that trap of retake, which I think I've kind of covered. So I'm trying to go a bit quicker now so we've got and get onto the ideation. Your talking pace. So this is really important to really notice what your natural talking pace is, and stay with your natural talking pace, because you'll be more natural as you're presenting, and your audience will feel like it's more authentic. So it's more conversational. So do start to be aware of your talking pace and movement. By this I'm talking about gestures. So this is one of the things that is the reason why people get bored watching a video or may click away, especially when you're doing point of view film. So when you're doing to camera filming, is that there's not enough movement. And as you know, we have evolved, we need to see movement because that snaps us back into what we're doing. A fun game and watch on your TV, whether you're watching a series, program, movie, whatever it is, kind of count the seconds before there's a change of scene, a new cut of the same scene, a different camera angle. It's rare that you're going to get past 5 seconds, 6 seconds. A lot of the time it's 3 seconds as a camera change. So how you can replicate that to keep your audience engaged is by being animated yourself, by moving, by adjusting your pace. So you have pauses, you don't have a monologue. And then you use B-roll, or you might have text on screen, or if you're doing like vlogs, obviously it's much easier then, because by the nature of it, you're seeing different things. Okay, so hopefully that helps, makes a bit of sense. Okay, ideation, which I love ideation. Never think that you don't have things to talk about. You 100% have a million of things if you put your mind to it. Okay, so before getting on to what you're actually going to talk about, you should always make sure that you're really familiar with and confident in these 4 different areas, which hopefully you already are, so I'm not going to go into them a lot, but make sure you know who your IC is, your ideal client avatar, however you like to refer to that person. Know what your content pillars are, know what you want to be known for, and also be confident in what makes you different to someone else that also is an expert in your field. So just spend a bit of time making sure you're clear on those. I'm sure you probably all already are. Okay, so these next 4 things you can see here on the slide now, these are my go-tos for anyone that says, I don't know what to talk about. So first of all, just come up with any idea, pick one idea. It could be an idea you've already made a video about. And then you go macro and micro on that idea. So let me have a think. That might be, I'm thinking about Rebecca, if you're watching this, and branding. You're doing great with your personal brand video content right now, so you know. So let's say you're talking about the new, I know the 5 most important things that a brand should be doing in 2024 to stay relevant, something like that. Then you've got 5 things you're going to run through quickly. So let's take that as one video that's one video to start with. Then you can go macro from that. So you could then make a video that says, you know, why is it important that you should be monitoring and telling your audience what the trends are. Another macro might be how do trends vary between territories? So if you're UK, these are your trends, but if you're wanting to start to go out into America, actually their trends are different, and this is why. So you're basically coming from that initial video, you're coming up stage, you're thinking bigger picture, and then you're talking about that. And as it sounds, then, you know, micro, you're coming down it going into more of the detail. So you might take one of those points and say, right, now let's expand on that idea. Okay, then the mirror magnify, that is where you will look at either a competitor or someone you admire but has a similar audience to your audience. Look at what they're going to. YouTube is a good place to do this, because you can sort the videos by popularity. And then whatever their most popular videos are, you're going to have your own different take on that content. And so do your version of that video, but you know it's an already proven idea. Obviously, don't plagiarize anyone, but you're just using that as part of your research. News and reviews, so a bit of newsjacking is a great way of getting content ideas. So this can be done in a couple of ways. So it doesn't have to be that you're then saying, you know, there's been some, well, let's say something political that might have happened. It's not about giving your political opinion, unless you really want to, because that can be quite divisive and very polarizing, of course. But it might be something to do with your industry that's come into the news. Let's say it's a new development for Google search that's popped up. So you're then giving your opinion, like, hey, you know, Google just announced today XYZ. Reviews, very similar. Let's say it's a new feature that's come onto LinkedIn. It'd be, okay, this is how you can use this in your specific to your industry, why it affects you, and what your thoughts are on it. So that's one way where you're actually creating content about the thing. But then there's also where you can use something in the news as a theme for a video about whatever it is you wanted to talk about in any case. This works well with things like sporting events, new movie releases. So let's say you are wanting to talk about, you know, why brands need to keep their finger on the pulse of what's trending, and there's a new release of, I know, I can't think what's, or let's say it's Wimbledon week. Okay, so then you are then presenting that content in your persona as a tennis player. And then the last thing is community chess. So as it sounds, this is where you're going to your community, you're seeing what content are they asking questions about. Even think of yourself, what do people ask you about most of the time? And then that's a video they're ready to make. If you don't already have a video in all of your FAQs, you know, that's another one. But go into things like Facebook groups, or, you know, asking for polls, go into places where people are already asking questions is a really, really good one. And then that's a very rich area of getting new content. So hopefully those that I've kind of rattled through, sorry about that, give you lots of ideas. Okay, so this is the only last slide before doing any questions. Very briefly, 5 Ps to get you started. Pick your tools, get them ready, set your date to get started, and then plan what you're going to say. And I kind of have a bit of a disclaimer here on the plan. Plan it to a point where it's not going to stop you from moving forward. If you're perpetually planning, then just take the decision to wing it on that day that you've already set. So plan or not plan. Produce, obviously that is your execution, and post-production, doing the edit yourself. As I mentioned, it's a really valuable piece of learning to do. If you can find the time to do your own editing, you'll learn a lot about yourself on it, and it also gets you used to seeing yourself. You then become much more blasé and like, yeah, that's the face I make. Those are the noises I make. We all have those filler words that we use. Mine is so. I tend to go so all the time, even my writing. And publish, obviously, get publishing, and don't let it just languish in your library, save it in your Dropbox or your Google download, Google Drive somewhere. Be brave and post it out there, and what's the worst that's going to happen? You know, people are usually very supportive, so do just get going. Okay, so we've rattled through all of these things. Now, any questions? Is everyone still even there? Hello, hello. I know it takes a bit of time for people to think of questions. Oh yes, the quiz has just gone out. This is the part I'm the most nervous about, really. Hopefully, there's been something in this masterclass that has meant something to you and been helpful for you to be able to perhaps either get more adventurous with your filming that you're doing. So if you've already mastered doing a bit of piece to camera, then maybe your next step is to try and do something that's a bit more vlog-like, where you are going out, filming yourself doing something, getting that doing pillar, and then maybe you are also feeling a bit more confident about getting started if you haven't already got started. But would love to take questions and really help to give you some more personalized content. Okay, so Elisa, what do you think is ideal video length on platforms? So video length do you have a specific platform you want to know? I would say YouTube is longer, unless it's a YouTube short, which would need to be under a minute. LinkedIn would be ideally about 2 minutes, works best on LinkedIn. You can maybe go up to 3 minutes, but I'd stick to a couple of minutes at for LinkedIn. And also when it comes to LinkedIn, I think filming horizontally is better than vertical if you can. I did a poll this last week asking people that question on LinkedIn, what ratio do they prefer, and the majority said horizontal as well. I think yes, the recording is kept and published. Does anyone else have any specific questions? Yes, and then there is a downloadable, or you can scan want to get the cliff notes from this, and if you want to get that tools list, so that's there's a tools list there that you can also download for getting started, whether you want to have my recommendation on editing apps, on auto cue, on I'm trying to what the other apps there that I've got, screen recording on your phone, music, and those kind of things. So hopefully, I know video is such a large area, it's hard to please everyone to get the spot right. There's so much to talk about, but if there's something I haven't covered, we probably do have time that I can go into that if you want to let me know what that is. And I don't think I'm seeing any new questions coming in yet. We've still got a bit of time, another 7 minutes. Okay. I know whenever I'm on something like this and I am wanting to ask a question, but sometimes by the time I've written the question, I've run out of time and things closed. Okay.
Thank you for hosting, Justina, and thank you everyone for attending. I hope you enjoyed it and hopefully see you at the next one.
Okay, thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Justina.
You're welcome. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.